Yes, I'm going to go ahead and send us down to the do now, which is on slide 2. You guys should all have that. First, you are going to brainstorm some key terms that you could put in your context, and then you're going to write a full contextualization statement, which again is 2 to 3 sentences, explaining the atmosphere before the 1950s. Go ahead and take 5 minutes to do that key term brainstorming, and then writing a contextualization statement. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead and get started. 5 minutes. So make sure you are working on that do now. If you're stuck, make sure you're using your resources for the brainstorm. Two more minutes to finish up. Make sure you guys are writing those contextualization statements at the end. 2 more minutes. One more minute. Okay, let's go ahead and come back together. Awesome job at planning out your contextualization for this prompt and actually writing it down. We have obviously been zooming in this quarter on how to successfully get to the context point on a DBQ essay. And today I want to make sure that 100% of us get the point on the AP exam in May and on the IA in just a couple of weeks. Today, I'm going to remodel with you how I wrote an exemplar contextualization statement for this prompt today as we continue to revisit and revise and perfect our contextualization statements. While I model, I want you to take notes on what thinking steps do I take to writing a contextualization statement. So please take 1 minute, find either a piece of paper in your APUSH notebook or open up a Google Doc on the APUSH Classroom for you to take notes. And please chat A100. When you have notes, a place to take notes. Thank you, Kamaya. Thank you, Cheyenne. Okay, it looks like most of us are there. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, make sure you are taking notes on what thinking steps do I take to writing a contextualization statement. First, I'm going to make sure I have all of the materials I need with me, which includes the DBQ checklist that Ms. Wild has given me, the DBQ rubric, and any reference sheets that I think might be helpful on this essay. Now I'm going to look at the rubric and remind myself of what the rubric is asking me to do, which you can now see on your screen. Looking at the contextualization rubric, I see to earn this point, the response must relate the topic of the prompt to broader historical events, developments, or processes that occur before, during, or continue after the time frame of the question. And this point is not merely awarded for a phrase or reference. Okay, so what that's telling me is I've been focusing on only doing stuff before, and that's good, but I could write about something that's happening during as long as it tells me about what's going on within the prompt. That's really good. I'm glad I revisited my contextualization aspect of the rubric. Now I want to remember the materials that Ms. Wild has given me. And on the checklist, she told me to make sure that I had 2 to 3 key terms that are unique to the prompt. So I need to make sure they're really specific. And I need to make sure that I am writing a contextualization statement that is 2 to 3 sentences long. Now I'm going to share my screen from Zoom on my iPad, and I will show you how I actually start the writing. Okay. There we go. Okay. So today's prompt is asking me, is the image of the happy 1950s housewife accurate? So first, I need to brainstorm. And I need to brainstorm those unique 2 to 3 key terms that are related to the prompt. I know World War II is happening at this time, so I definitely want that, or right before this time. And when I think about women, especially during the 1940s, what's that really important thing? Rosie the Riveter, that's right. Rosie the Riveter inspired women to get jobs out of the home. So now that I have Rosie the Riveter in World War II, I know that at the end of the 1940s, women are told to go back home and they have to stop working. So, and that was the process of suburbanization. So I'm going to have that as well, just in case. Sorry, I always forget how to misspell suburbanization. Okay, those are some good key terms. I think I'm ready to start writing my contextualization statement. And if I remember correct, the contextualization statement needs to be about 2 to 3 sentences that includes these unique key terms. I'm going to go ahead and get started. What I'm going to write is, during World War II, so I can set up my time period right away. Women were able to uniquely liberate themselves because the workforce needed their help. Okay, so that's setting up the stage. Now I'm going to get specific. The government needed them to fill in the gaps of the workforce left by men and used propaganda like Rosie the Riveter to encourage women to go to work in factories. For the first time, married women were encouraged to liberate themselves with work, but this would not last. And now that I look at that completed contextualization statement, I can see that I can clearly transition into my thesis answering the question, is the image of the 1950s housewife accurate? Pause. Take 30 seconds, wrap up your notes on what steps I took. I'll leave this projected for a few more seconds. And now let's come back together. What thinking steps did you see me take to make sure I wrote a contextualization statement that would get the APUSH point? Kamaya, what are some of the steps you saw me take?
You had your resources and your DBQ checklist and rubric, and you wrote about like historical context around the time, and then you got more specific by defining one of your key terms.
Awesome. Anybody want to build on what they saw me do? Kamaya got most of it. Yes, so I first made sure I had those resources that were going to make sure that I was going to be able to stay on track with. I did my brainstorming and I made sure those key terms fit the categories that I needed. And then I wrote my context utilizing those specific key terms and defining them and making sure it leads into the thesis. I'm going to go ahead and stop my sharing. Go ahead and take 30 seconds, make sure you have all of those key parts in your notes. And then we will transition to today's document analysis. Awesome. Now that we've just spent a deep dive looking at contextualization, I'm going to move us all along to today's main inquiry, which is the image of the 1950s housewife accurate? We've clearly set the stage of World War II and the hard work that women were doing in factories before they were told to go back home and no longer work. So I am going to open up access to our documents. There are 4 documents today. For the first 2, I want you to brainstorm on outside evidence that you could use. And on the second 2, those are secondary sources. So you just need to write annotations and a significant statement. Make sure with your significant statement, you're answering this question: is this image of the 1950s housewife accurate? You have 15 minutes to read these documents. After a few minutes, I will push us along. Actually, you have 14 minutes. 14 minutes to read and annotate. Slide 4 is going to be the first document. Go ahead and get started. Chat me if you have any questions. 14 minutes. Seeing some awesome outside evidence brainstorm. Make sure you guys are including those specific key terms. This is how women have to lead their lives. You think this one says they're going to be happy? Or do you think they would be bored? So make sure you have that annotation, and then you can work on that too. 40 seconds, I'm going to be removing access to document 1. So 30 more seconds to finish on document 1. Restricting access to documents 3 through 4. You have 10 minutes left. Eight and a half more minutes. Make sure you guys are brainstorming that outside evidence for document 2. In 45 seconds, I'm restricting access to documents 3 and 4. Restricting access to documents 3 and 4. Now, 3 and 4 are secondary sources, so you just need an annotation and a significant statement. Document 3 was written in 1993, and document 4 was written in 2003. In 1 minute, I'm restricting us to document 4 as we finish up our document annotations. And I'm restricting access to just document 4 as we finish up. You have 3 more minutes to finish annotating. Again, please make sure that you are annotating, otherwise I will go back through and remove points from your Zoom engagement tracker. I see several people that have not annotated on the last 3 documents. One more minute to finish up annotations. Okay, that is time. I'm going to change our pacing so you have access to all four documents and the last slide, which is the main inquiry where you have a spot to annotate. So if everybody could slide down to slide 8. You're going to have 90 seconds to stop and jot and respond to the prompt. Is the image of the 1950s happy housewife correct? 90 seconds to stop and jot in Desmos, and then we'll come back together for whole group discourse. Make sure you have something jotted with evidence for when we come back together as a group. 90 seconds. Awesome. I love the urgency. Make sure in your response you also have a piece of evidence ready to pull from. I'm going to give us another 30 seconds, 1 more minute to get that response written. Be prepared to be called on. Ten more seconds to finish writing out your response. Is the image of the happy 1950s housewife accurate? Is this image accurate? Can I hear from Sierra, and then Yabdi, and then Giovanni?
Okay, I said that the image of the happy housewife is not accurate because women wanted to break free from like the boring routine, and I got evidence for this is in document 2, where it says the problem was a strange stirring sense of dissatisfaction, a yearning that women suffered in the middle of the 20th century in the United States.
You said me, right?
Yes, Yabdi.
I agree with Ciara because the image wasn't accurate because women were confused about what they really wanted, and they were like trying to get away from being housewives and be more in the workforce. And I guess they wanted to end more of the patriarchal things that are going on.
And Giovanni, are you able to unmute, or are you having some Zoom issues?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I said no because more women stopped being the typical housewife and started going out into the world and working, being in politics and living their own life. For example, in document 3, I don't know how to say her name, but she includes that in both years the top 4 women were involved in politics and opposed.
Awesome. Sorry, Giovanni. I think we missed the last part of it, but great use of document 3. If you want to add what you add, we heard you got evidence for this from document 3. If you can add that evidence into the chat, that'd be great. Your mic just cut out. Okay, so we agree that no, this image is not accurate. What is some outside evidence that supports this? What is some outside evidence that supports our argument? Can I hear from Kamaya and then Shakim?
Can you word it?
Yes. Okay. Imagine that you get this question on the DBQ prompt. Imagine you have to write an essay on the 1950s housewife. What is some outside evidence you would want to write about in that essay?
Suburbanization and I don't know, just things.
What is
that,
suburbanization, Kamaya?
It's like basically life in the suburbs where women were just limited to being housewives and they didn't have the ability to go and work or do actual labor.
And we'll go Shakim and then Kayla.
I agree. Also say consumerism because there was more technology, women were more expected to do more, to use the products that were bought to do housewife tasks.
I was gonna say flappers and the 19th Amendment.
Yeah, those would also be great outside evidence for like what's going on in the 1920s in that slow progression towards women's equality or dissatisfaction with the world that they live in. Awesome job today, you guys. I'm going to stop pacing so you guys can slide down to that last slide for the exit ticket. Today, you are going to write a thesis, so an answer to the prompt. And then I want to see one piece of evidence from the documents that supports your thesis, and then one piece of outside evidence you would include in an essay on the 1950s housewife. So you have those 3 parts. You have the rest of the class to complete your exit ticket. And I will be tracking once you complete everything in Desmos and hit turn in on APUSH, Google Classroom, you will be free to go for the day. Please chat me if you have any questions. You have the remainder of class to complete this work. Awesome job today, you guys, and I can't wait to see what you write.